All of a sudden, General Motors are starting to hit serious home runs with the Bolt and the Bolt EUV. They're selling extremely well this year. They qualify for the tax incentives, and General Motors goes and says, that's enough. No more. We're not going to sell it anymore. So you've got to get in fast if you want one of them. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel on Electric Viking. General Motors will stop making the Chevy Bolt EV in late 2023. GM is spending $4 billion to overhaul the Bolt plant for production of the electric Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra pickups starting in 2024. So if you want an affordable electric car, probably from about 2024 onwards, you'll need to wait possibly for a Tesla Model 2 or the Model A or whatever Tesla's going to call it, because there won't be any more Bolts or Bolt EVs. Now, are there other options? Yeah, for sure. But there's not a whole lot of chance, I don't think realistically, that you're going to see a bunch of Equinoxes priced at $30,000 US. Here's what's going on, and here's what I personally would do if I was in the US looking for an electric car once the Bolt is completely discontinued. General Motors will discontinue the Bolt at the end, probably of the end of the third quarter, said CEO Mary Barra. The automaker plans to build electric versions of the Silverado and the GMC Sierra at the plant in Michigan, and employment at the plant will triple in 2024 when it opens after a $4 billion overhaul, said Mary Barra at the first earnings call. Now, this really proves my point that I've been making and that I've probably had a lot of people get annoyed about. You can't come into a factory and just turn it into an EV production factory. Plants are sometimes easier to actually build from the ground up than to try to do that. Here's the perfect situation of seeing exactly what it costs. $4 billion to turn this plant into producing a different version of an electric vehicle. $4 billion. I mean, this is not one of the biggest plants in the world. It's decent size, but it's really nothing in comparison to the size of, for example, Gigafactory in Texas. So really, this does show you how incredibly difficult it is for a legacy automaker to be building whatever they're building in the past and to try to transform their factory to build EVs. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen cheaply. The Bolt was introduced in 2016, and it uses GM's previous generation battery technology. The Silverado, the Sierra, and other upcoming electric vehicles are built on the Ultium battery platform that allows for greater range and power. GM plan on doing what Tesla's doing, right? They want to try to increase range every year by improving energy density of their battery packs. But they are now planning on building a battery factory with Samsung, which will make similar size batteries to the 4680, possibly 4680 cylindrical cells and prismatic cells in the same factory. So it's going to be interesting to see where GM go with that, and if they really believe that the batteries that they currently use in Ultium packs are as good as they could be. Realistically, maybe not. I mean, General Motors say that they need to increase battery energy density in their batteries by 60% to hit their goal, 60%, and cost needs to come down by 70%. Those are some drastic differences. GM has sold more than 161,000 Bolts in the United States. The nameplate began as a hatchback, and it expanded to include a large crossover called the Bolt EUV in 2021. Analysts have been expecting the vehicles to eventually make way for newer EVs, such as Equinox. Here's what they said. The size of the Bolt itself isn't a popular size for the American consumer. It's a little too small, said Sam Fiorani, Vice President of Global Vehicle Forecasting at Auto Forecast Solutions. And with advances in battery technology and motor technology, they're getting more mileage out of a change and making the vehicles bigger. So the pricing and battery range can move up a step and basically replace the Bolt with a smaller version of the Equinox. The thing is, I'm not really buying this personally, because the Bolt EUV is a really good size for a lot of Americans. That sort of crossover sized car, it's fairly practical, it's not too big. I think it really fits a niche incredibly well. So I am a bit disappointed to see GM make this decision. The Bolt's sales and image were hampered massively by a 2021 recall linked to battery fires. Even though there wasn't many fires, General Motors, some executives at General Motors, not GM itself, but some executives there made some pretty crazy comments. They said, don't go within 50 meters of your car, don't park it in the garage, don't, all these restrictions. And so therefore it got a whole lot of media time. Plus it cost GM about $1.5 billion, LG Chem about the same to do the recall, and the battery recall is still ongoing. They haven't completed the recalls of those cars sold before 2021. GM cut bolt prices by $5,000 last year, increased it to $6,000 in preparation for the 2023 launch of the Equinox EV, which will use Ultium batteries and have a starting price of $30,000 say General Motors. If it does come in at $30,000 in the base spec, I would be very surprised. It's a bigger car than the Bolt. I wish they'd keep it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.